Product on the market. No prescription necessary. Available at Walgreens, Rite Aid, and CVS.
News Radio 1070 WKOK presents On the Mark. It's a chance to voice your opinion on the events that affect life in the Susquehanna Valley. Call 1-800-795-9565 or email onthemark@wkok.com. Now, here are your hosts for On the Mark, Mark Lawrence and Joe McGranahan.
The late Mark Lawrence.
Not really late.
Well, if you're cutting any closer, buddy, you're going to have a really sharp knife to cut it any closer.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome on board. It's the WKOK Live Telephone Talk Show. I am Mark Lawrence. I was a minute late for the program. That's 60 seconds to you and I. What's the big deal?
Come in and the intro's rolling, and I'm sitting over here with no access to the mic switch.
Well, you can flip over to the catbird seat.
I would have had to do that if you hadn't come in and when you did.
Welcome to my dream show where neither one of you can speak.
Gee, that's what we were about to say about you.
What kind of a show would that be? You'd have to run over here and be in the catbird and then run over there and turn the mics on and off, then run over here. You would not like
No, see, you don't understand. Not having those mics on is not a problem for me.
Okay.
That's right. He can talk over there.
That's right. I've got my own.
And actually control whether or not we're heard.
Right.
What kind of show would that be, though? Who would enjoy that?
Well, let's see. Me.
Mrs. Hurd.
Well, that's all that matters, really.
Me and Mrs. Hurd.
Let's be honest. I'm in it for myself.
Yes, you and everyone else in America. Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome aboard. It is the WKOK Live Telephone Talk Show, very first day of July, and we're inching ever closer to Independence Day as we start to celebrate the fact that we are not British citizens anymore. So that is so noteworthy. We talked about history a little bit this morning on the Sunrise Show. John Moore was here, the author, Northumberland County Historical Society leader, and very fascinating conversation about Independence Day, and they have Port Augusta Day this Saturday. Our webcam is up and running. We invite you to go to WKOK.com. You can watch the webcam. Kevin says the audio is fine. I don't believe it, but as he says, it's working great, and the video is good, and you can join the dozens of people who watch the program each day, and the soon-to-be 8 billion who get an opportunity to watch the On the Mark program.
You know, there are big plans to upgrade this system.
I know. I heard about that.
Yes, Kevin was telling me before we went on the air about all the exciting things that are planned.
But they're not replacing us?
No, they were adding cameras, possibly a new computer.
You don't know that.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say, what do they call it when you
It'll be so good that we won't deserve it anymore.
What do they call it when you have the same homely host and you put a camera on them? What's that called?
It's called putting a flowered hat on an old cow.
Okay, something.
Lipstick on a pig.
Right, that's it. So that's what Kevin's trying to do. I'm going to look sharper and clearer with a better illumination, but it'll be the same.
We'll be able to count the individual gray hairs in your head.
Oh, great. Yeah, that's funny. Did you notice that as HD took over the TV news industry, you're like, HD really doesn't help that guy, you know, when you can see all the little crags and things like that.
I remember a few years ago, I went, when I was still on the board of the Pennsylvania Association of Broadcasters, we went down to WPBI in Philadelphia, and the general manager gave us a tour, and he said, showing us the equipment, he said, now that we've gone high def, he said, this is a controller we call Video Vaseline. It makes the anchors look better.
Oh.
So they had
makeup.
Yeah, right.
Softens it a little bit.
Yeah, you know, so you can't see the individual pores in their skin.
All righty. So, with that deeply ensconced in our brains, On the Mark is brought to you by the Sunbury Motor Company, family-owned dealership since 1915, 4th Street, Sunbury, and routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Find out lots more about them at sunburymotors.com. They invite you to visit the Quick Lane. They'll get you ready for any summer driving that you're doing. If you're going someplace for the 4th, or maybe not until Labor Day, or just lots and lots of day trips, they can get you squared away, make sure that there's nitrogen in your tires and oil in your crankcase and transmission fluid in your transmission and radiator fluid in your radiator and windshield washer fluid in the right spots and power steering.
We get the idea.
Okay, you got it. All the fluids. I know like 6 more fluids.
I was afraid you were going to use them all.
Okay, Monday through Friday, 7 to 7, and Saturday, 7 to 3, and they got a car wash there, too. Lenape Solar.
Real quick, Mark, you were talking about Sunbury Motors, right?
Mm-hmm.
They may end up being on the road today with their tow truck. This just in with WKOK Text Connect. If you had WKOK Text Connect on your phone or mobile device, you would have gotten this already. An overturned vehicle blocking a lane of traffic on northbound routes 11 and 15 between Selinsgrove and Port Trevorton in Union Township, Snyder County. Happened around 8:20 near the Hope United Methodist Church. No injuries reported, but traffic very heavy and slow in that area. So again, that's routes 11 and 15 between Selinsgrove and Port Trevorton. Traffic very slow with an accident blocking the northbound lanes of travel. That available via WKOK Text Connect or the email alerts that you can sign up for at WKOK.com.
Lenape Solar email in basket is open. We simply ask that you email on the mark at WKOK.com, and in many cases we'll read your email on the radio. Lenape's at 140 South 2nd Street in Sunbury. They do have a solar array display set up for you to see, so you can see the photovoltaic displays. But no matter if it's your house or your business or your church, they would just love you to go solar. You could generate electricity and heat for in your building, and you save a buck in the process. LenapeSolar.com is their main website. Groninger Insurance Agency, Front and Duke Streets, Northumberland. Now they're open Monday through Thursday, 9 to 5, Friday, 9 to 4:30, and they would just love to pack even more in there. They've packed in the Shamrock Insurance Agency, plus they've always had Erie Insurance. You're welcome to call John, Jim, Paul, or Mel and see what else that they can do for you to make you a happy customer at Groninger Insurance. GroningerInsurance.com is their main website.
Bet you don't remember the question they always ask.
Do you know if your insurance is at the right price?
You win.
Thank you. What do I win?
A free assessment of your insurance needs at Groninger Insurance.
They're already taken care of by them, so...
Well, you can get another one. You can never have too many.
Right, to get an assessment of something.
Well, we're out of time, folks. Thanks for tuning in today. Join us again tomorrow.
We do have a couple of news notes to pass along. Northbound routes 11 and 15 is blocked between Port Trevorton and Selinsgrove because...
Echo in here. He just said that.
Oh, is that what he was
yes,
talking
were you
about?
listening to him?
Right, we sent out email alerts and Text Connect and Facebook posts and tweets and you name it. We told everybody every way about this northbound. Is that what you were really talking about, Kevin? Oh, I'm sorry. I was tuning out while he was talking, as I often do. We'll have news.
I would be embarrassed to admit that. He's our producer.
No, I'm just harassing.
Okay.
I'm just saying. I'm just trying to make a point that even though he's Johnny on the spot with this, I was ready. I have my notes in front of me. I have received the email alert, the Text Connect, and the tweet. And we'll be sending out
we
the
tweet
Facebook.
here, too?
Oh, my gosh. We're like massive. Oh, please. That's like saying that I didn't hear him talk about routes 11
well,
and 15.
Well, I don't tweet.
Well, we do. We tweet out every news story. We tweet out every big weather story.
So I'm missing a lot by not being tweetable.
Well, you know.
What's the difference between
missing a lot would be kind of a
What's the difference
phrase.
between a tweet and a Text Connect?
Text Connect is a text message sent to your cell phone or pager that goes through no matter what. I mean, if you signed up for it, and it's like a text message. It's not like a text message. It is a text message, and it goes to your cell phone. Tweets do not necessarily go to your cell phone. You can have them forwarded there, but that's not really what they are. They're sent to your website or to your Twitter account, and typically people would have an app on a smartphone or just log in.
But if I have a Text Connect, do I need to tweet too? You tweet and Text Connect the same information?
No. Text Connect is for emergencies or bulletins or weather breaking or big ending of sports events around here, you know, like things that you would want to know about, like horse races and things. Text Connect would
I would want to know about horse races.
Well, no.
You think I gamble?
No. Anyway, this is... Kevin... Let's do the show without our mics.
All right. Here's the big situation. If you follow WKOK on Twitter, you get all the information available on WKOK in a concise form where you can link to the story directly.
So then I don't need WKOK anymore?
No. Okay. You're not listening. Stop interrupting and just listen.
How about if I turn our mics off?
So if you follow us on Twitter, you get a link to all the stories that are available on WKOK.com throughout the day, plus breaking news.
Mm-hmm.
Information that you need in an instant is sent via WKOK Text Connect and the WKOK email. So those services you can sign up for at WKOK.com. This way you are well informed. And Joe, seeing as somebody who wants to be well informed, you should be signing up to all of them.
Well, I should be. I'm amazed.
You should do something. that much is clear.
Yes, I've just been wandering around in the wilderness.
Now do
tweetless.
You follow? Are you following along now?
I'm tweetless.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Kevin, for that.
See, I'm happy to bring you into not only the 20th century, but the 21st.
Now, would you have tweeted yesterday about the Supreme Court decisions?
Absolutely, yeah.
You did. Or you tweeted and you text connected those?
Yes,
Yes.
we did.
So what did you think about yesterday's decision, Mark?
I like it okay. I think religious freedom is very important. It just seems strange to me that a company, an employer, has religious rights. You know, I think of it as, you know, like a big building that would have religious rights. And I feel bad for people that work for them who are, you know, the rank and file employees certainly are not as religiously involved, necessarily anyway, as the owners. I understand why the owners would want to feel that way and why they wouldn't want to offer it. But I feel bad for the rank and file workers. Hundreds and hundreds of them would have a chance, or would no longer have a chance to get contraception as part of their insurance, and that's too bad.
Isn't it not? It's not all contraception, isn't it? Just contraception that could be leading to abortion?
Yeah, specifically IUDs were talked about, and
morning after pill?
Things along that line. So yeah, it's a big issue. I certainly see both sides of it. I certainly side on I personally side with people who are sort of in the rank and file side, who are receiving the insurance and would probably want the benefits and would think that it should be something that should be available to them at no additional cost.
At no additional cost.
Right now they can go out and buy it, but of course there's
here's another
associated
thought:
with that.
personal responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't do the deed, you don't have to worry about the problem.
I see, but see, I hate to break this to you,
and there
but
are other people, other
sex
ways.
is part of married life these days,
It's
and
not
life.
necessarily married life.
Right.
Apparently
Okay. Sex
these
is
days.
part of what couples can do. So, therefore, it is part of a comprehensive health care plan.
Couples can also tap dance, but not everybody does.
Not everybody has sex.
No, I'm saying not everybody has sex that is unprotected. There are other means available. There's standard birth control pills. There's condoms.
Right. Well,
there are a lot of choices that before you have to go to something that aborts a fetus.
Right, I understand this, and really, I'm just going to agree with you because I think that I understand the complexity of this issue. This isn't simple. It is absolutely no surprise that it was a split decision, and it's no surprise to me that really you've heard some pretty divisive comments on both sides of this. I don't think that the Congress should be imposing a religious violating mandate on anybody. I certainly feel for the people who are the employees who had hoped that the health care insurance that their company agreed to provide would be comprehensive and would include those types of contraception and or birth control. We'd love the public's opinion on this, correct?
Certainly.
All right, 1-800-795-9565. Deeply exploring my opinions will get us nowhere, I assure you of that. So call us now, 1-800-795-9565. That is the Groninger Insurance toll-free line, 1-800-795-9565. The Lenape Solar email in basket is open, so you can email us. We're not going to take a break, but we invite folks to utilize those. On the mark at WKOK.com is our email address.
I look at this thing and I say I think the Supreme Court made the right decision, and I understand how people on the other side feel. But I go back again to personal responsibility. Why should we pay, and I think all of us pay for insurance one way or another because the prices reflect the coverage that's provided. Why should a company be forced to pay for something that it finds morally unsuitable? And you say a company isn't really can't have religious beliefs, but I think here the important part of this argument to me is that both of these companies, Conestoga and Hobby Lobby, are family-owned businesses. They were founded by the families. They're still owned and run by the families, and the family doesn't believe in providing that kind of coverage. So I think the corporate, if you will, religious freedom is an extension of the individuals who own and found the company. I don't think a corporation necessarily can have religious convictions, although I guess that's kind of what the Supreme Court held, isn't it?
Yes.
All right, but all right. Well, maybe they did it for the wrong reason. I read the dissenting opinion. Was it not Justice O'Connor? I forget who wrote the dissenting opinion, but it was she made some very interesting points. Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Yes.
And she said, I believe my brethren have stepped into a landmine, and I can see her point. You know, like I say, I agree with the decision, but I also agree with her dissent to a certain extent, because this is a kind of narrowly constructed opinion that often gets the Supreme Court into trouble down the road.
All right, Chris, thanks for calling in on this matter. You are on the mark.
Well, I think Joe is, I don't know, willfully blind or just blind. I mean, come on, Joe.
Come on, what? What do you disagree with?
You agree with it, but you disagree with it. And
Me
you
too.
think that they made the right decision, but maybe for the wrong
You can't
reason.
hear you.
It was a terrible decision. Alito is a devious bag of pig manure.
Wait.
Whoa. That's a personal attack.
Hold on
That's
a
a
second.
personal attack. That's a
Hold
personal
on.
attack. We don't do that.
Hold on, Chris. Let's start at the beginning.
Well, let's start at the beginning.
What don't you agree with what Joe had said specifically?
Well, first of all, his whole thing about, doesn't start with personal responsibility. And then you said, well, isn't it part of married life too, sex and maybe birth control? And he didn't really quite answer that question. But actually, that decision has already been made by precedent, which they ignored.
What
company
precedent?
didn't want to supply health benefits to married women because in their religion they thought that married women should be provided health benefits by their husband's job.
Okay,
Therefore, they weren't doing it.
What precedent was that?
Yeah,
That
you
was
lost
a precedent in court case. It was heard and ruled on by a judge and settled 8-0.
And you're certain that the Supreme Court ignored this?
Well, they didn't. It sounds pretty similar to this. It was a privately held company that had religious views about who deserved health care.
All right, so their law clerks missed one big case.
Well, what court made the decision, Chris? The Supreme Court, you're saying?
Well, the decision, as I understand it, was 8-0, so that only leaves the Supreme Court because the others
Except
are all
they're-
3-judge panels.
There are
or
9 on
single
the Supreme
individual
Court, Chris.
judges.
There are 9 on the Supreme
Yeah,
Court.
well, one could be excused. Maybe they were heard when there was a vacancy. Who knows?
All right. So, well, yeah, check your facts on that and then let us know
Well,
what
you
this
check
big
my
decision is.
facts. You got to Google. You do some work.
All right. Last
Wait
word.
a minute. Doesn't that mean you called in without knowing your own facts?
Well, he's sort of
That's
like
scary.
Sort of like this issue. You know, they want
Kevin,
somebody else to pay for
Kevin,
what they want.
You've been so wrong about everything you said about me. It's ridiculous.
Well, no, I'm just saying. You want me to fact check you when you're calling in?
If you're going to suggest I'm wrong, yes, I do.
Okay, so
Is that too much to ask, Kevin? If you're going to say I'm wrong,
what is the...
come on, answer, Kevin. Kevin.
Yes, I shouldn't have to fact check you
shouldn't have to
if
fact
you
check
have
me
the
if you're
fact.
claiming I'm wrong.
Let's move on. How
Okay.
about, how do you feel about this Supreme Court
Well,
ruling?
he's pretty obvious.
Okay. Now the other thing is, they opened up. They claim it was completely narrow decision, and they claim it's a completely narrow decision for a couple reasons, none of which they substantiate at all. One is that they used the same trick they used when they made Bush president.
Oh, Lord.
That they said this case should not be used as precedent for anything else but birth control and these types of birth control. Although in the oral arguments, they were the lawyers for Hobby Lobby were specifically asked, you are against these forms of birth control because you could equate them with abortion, which a lot of it doesn't have much scientific basis, by the way. But anyway, and they said, would it also apply to people who are against all contraception? Would your argument be any different if you were against all contraception? And they said no. So that right away opens the door for other types of contraception.
All right.
But they claimed it was only this, but they didn't give any reason why.
You know,
Why
Chris,
it
it seems to
shouldn't be
me that
extended.
if the government were requiring you to do something you didn't want to do, I'd suspect you'd be calling this program howling and yelling at the top of your lungs and calling people bags of excrement or whatever it is you call people.
Something they wouldn't want to do.
Well, these people
It's
didn't
their
want
workers.
to. These people didn't want to give
but
those benefits.
Another precedent they ignored.
Okay,
In
very
another,
very quickly. Very
unanimous
quickly.
Supreme Court decision. A guy wanted to maintain segregation because it was his religion. His church taught segregation, and they ruled against him. He was compelled to do something against his religion.
And what religion was that?
That was his religion.
His religion.
The court acknowledged, and everybody acknowledged in the case that his church taught that.
And what was his church?
Sincerely held religious belief.
What was his church?
And then, what's it matter?
That has a lot to do with it. I'm not familiar with any church that argues that in this day and age.
Were you around in the South? Do you know? There's no lower limit on the number of members a church has to have religious beliefs, is there?
No, but I think generally we establish there are established religions. When you ask me a question, would you let me answer it? Oh, never mind. It's useless.
Well, what were you going to add?
Never mind. You wouldn't let me ask it anyway.
There's only one true church anyway, Chris, so come on.
Well, in Joe's opinion, apparently, and there's only one that should get the rights of religious freedom, apparently.
All right. Thank you so much. As always, come and visit us again. This will be much easier without the delay.
Just to go on about this, one more thing is that Alito knows that this isn't true. He knows that it's not going to be limited to that. But he claims in it that it is, so he makes it sound like a limited decision. It is not. And also it leaves open the question of what a sincerely held religious belief. Every religious belief now has to be evaluated by the court. Do you want the federal government evaluating what a truly held religious belief is? Yes or no?
Absolutely not. That would be terrible.
This is what that decision did. That's why it's a terrible decision. That's why it's devious. It's hypocritical. Okay? Have I made my point then?
Painfully clear. But
thank
we
you
really
very much.
appreciate it. Yeah, thank you, Chris. I really do appreciate it. Thank you. That is
point on the top of his head, right?
Right. We're going to take a quick break, and we will be return on the mark.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, gotta go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
You got to pay attention to the small things, kid. Small things matter. Small problems become big problems. Take a transformer. Rain leaks into a transformer, insulation system breaks down. Insulation system breaks down, copper windings overheat. Copper windings overheat, transformer blows. Transformer blows, facility goes dark. Facility goes dark, kid, you don't want to know what happens next. That's why I use Grainger. Grainger helps keep small problems from turning into big problems. Get it? Got it? Good. Call, clickgrainger.com, or stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
You're wearing top-of-the-line boots to hike the scenic Rockies, but you're still wearing your indoor eyeglasses in the glare of the sun?
What's that, Mom? What? Where?
Next time, experience Xperio UV, superior polarized sun lenses, and experience the difference.
Look, Katie, an eagle.
They eliminate 100% of blinding reflective glare and offer ESPF 50+, the maximum UV protection available. Ask your eye care professional about Xperio UV, superior polarized sun lenses in your prescription for the best vision under the sun.
It's a landmark day for the Big Ten. Maryland and Rutgers are officially in the conference. We'll talk to a beat writer from each school today. 3 to 5, News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Well, we have our friend Than weighing in. I'm sorry, you were going to say?
Where's the love?
Where's the love?
All right.
Our friend Than writes in, the Supreme Court just discriminated against women one more time. I support women's rights to not be subjected to others' fundamental religious beliefs. It does not matter in this case that the SC, Supreme Court, has called corporations human beings with religious rights. Really? Can you believe that? Chris is right, regardless of Joe's groaning in the background. Let's look at it this way, Than. You support the women's rights not to be subjected to others' fundamental religious beliefs, but you don't mind people with fundamental religious beliefs being subjected to being ordered to do something they don't like. This is a case where there are two wrongs maybe don't make a right. I mean, I think the women certainly have the right to that, whether I believe in abortion or whether I believe in birth control or whatever. I believe they have the right to that in this day and age if they want it. But why do we have to pay for it? Why does it have to be part of our insurance coverage if the company or the people who own the company strongly, on moral principles, disagree with it?
1-800-795-9560. Oh, too late.
That was a question. You aren't going to answer me?
Speedy. Oh, well, yeah, I think I did. You know, I think this is a fine line. This is a pickle where I think, you know, people with strongly held religious beliefs start up a company and people walk up to the front door, fill out the application, and agree to open the door and walk into said Mennonite company plant. And when you walk into someone's building, you agree to take on some of the rules that they've set out when you come on board, and maybe even sign a paper to that effect. And so you're working for them, with them, in their building, receiving pay. Yes, you're adding value to the company when you do your work for them, but you are agreeing to come in and work under their roof. It's like visiting someone's house, perhaps, where, you know, once you're inside, you have to obey the rules that they might have set out there, or, you know, you try to be hospitable. So I think that aspect is very true to in this. But on the other hand, I mean, I'm a working class dog, and for a company like this, for example, or some other company, Conestoga or Hobby Lobby, to say, okay, well, you know, Mark, I know you're a working class dog, you got a wife and kids to think about, but I'll tell you what, we don't really agree in heart surgery. We think that's bad, or we don't agree with gallbladder surgery because we think that's morally wrong. So I know you have a bad gallbladder, you got to get that taken out.
Bad analogy. Nobody believes gallbladder surgery is wrong on moral principles.
No, I don't know. What about Ginsburg? Ruth Bader Ginsburg talked about this.
People who maybe disagree with blood transfusions,
right.
Yes.
This is WKOK Sunbury. We'll continue this.
CBS News, I'm Frank Seditani. Mourners taking part in a funeral procession offered their prayers as one of 3 kidnapped Jewish seminary students was laid to rest a short time ago in the West Bank. In the West Bank town of Hebron, Israeli soldiers set off explosives at the home of a Palestinian suspect in the kidnapping. Israeli warplanes were busy over Gaza.
I'm Robert Berger in Jerusalem. Israel bombed more than 30 targets in Hamas-ruled Gaza hours after blaming the Palestinian group for the kidnap and murder of 3 Israeli teenagers. Hamas has been firing rockets across the border, and the group warned that if Israel starts a war in Gaza, it will open up the gates of hell.
Iraqi political leaders have taken a small first step down a road they hope leads to the creation of a new unity government. CBS's Charlie Daggett has the latest from Baghdad.
Parliament met today. Well, the last time they formed a government, it took 10 months. There is pressure that has been put on Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki to try to form some sort of coalition, some sort of base of power in order to hold on to power himself and to form a government.
With the current Iraqi government unable to blunt a Sunni insurgent offensive, President Obama is sending 300 more American troops to Iraq to protect the American embassy. Towns from Iowa to Michigan got a taste of destructive weather yesterday as storms damaged homes, swamped roads, and cut power. WFOR-TV Chief Meteorologist Craig Setzer tells us the East Coast could see rough weather over the next few days.
It's the season's first tropical depression. It formed last night off the Florida coast. It is not terribly organized now, but it's forecast to become more organized and eventually lift to the north. It could become a hurricane threatening the North Carolina coast. This is the Thursday night time frame here, and then off the East Coast sometime Friday night. I don't think it's a hurricane threat to the Northeast, but it could mess up some of the fireworks displays.
Borrowing money to pay for college is getting more expensive. Live to CBS News correspondent Heather Bosch.
Frank, under a deal brokered by Congress last year, interest rates on some federal college loans are tied to the economy now.
As the economy improves, the interest rates will go up on new loans.
Mark Kantrowitz with Advisors.com. He says starting today, the rate on an undergraduate Stafford loan is 4.66. Not a big increase, but under the new rules, the rate can eventually go up to 8.25. That's where it's capped.
Well, there's no tomorrow for the American soccer team unless it manages to win today's knockout match at the World Cup. CBS's Steve Futterman.
There has been a steady rise in interest in the U.S. soccer team. This is a team that many believe is the best ever to represent the U.S. in the World Cup. The Americans are playing an excellent team in Belgium, but there are many soccer experts who give the U.S. a good chance to win.
S&P futures are up 5 points. This is CBS News.
Attention homeowners. I'm Jay Farner, president of Quicken Loans, and I have some important information for you regarding the U.S. government's Home Affordable Refinance Program, or HARP. We've told you about HARP in the past, and more than 3 million homeowners have already taken advantage of this money-saving program. But there are so many more of you who could be saving hundreds of dollars every month on your mortgage. And Quicken Loans is here to help you save your money. The home loan experts at Quicken Loans fully understand the HARP guidelines. If you weren't HARP eligible in the past, new guidelines could mean that now you are. Give us a call and we'll give you a Quicken Loans mortgage review. It's simple and easy. And for 4 years in a row now, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. Call 800-QUICKEN. That's 800-QUICKEN. Or go to QuickenLoans.com for a mortgage experience that's engineered to amaze.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Payment example excludes taxes and insurance calls. For cost information, equalizing lender license in all 50 states, NMLS number 3030.
European judges have upheld France's ban on wearing the Muslim veil in public. We get the story from CBS's Terry Schultz in Brussels.
Rejecting a Muslim woman's appeal against the 2010 law, the European Court of Human Rights dismissed the French government's claims that banning face coverings is necessary for public security and that it protects women who might be forced to wear the full veil. But the court did support the argument that it helps with cultural integration, that women not keep their faces obscured. The appellant in the case said the ban violates her freedom of religion and expression because she wants to wear a veil. Terry Schultz for CBS News, Brussels.
France has the largest Muslim population in Western Europe. Former French President Nicolas Sarkozy was detained today and reportedly questioned in connection with a corruption investigation. Sarkozy could be held for as much as 48 hours. The investigation could dash Sarkozy's hopes for a political comeback. Frank Sedapani, CBS News.
I will never forget the day my son Jeremy told me he hated me and slammed the door in my face. I'm behavioral therapist Janet Lehman. Behavior problems can turn the child you love and your life into a nightmare. That's why my husband James and I created the Total Transformation, the step-by-step program that shows you how to fix the worst behavior problems and get your child to respect and listen to you again. No matter what the behavior, defiance, backtalk, angry outbursts, disrespect, we can help you stop it. Now you can get the Total Transformation for free. All you need to do is get the program and let us know how it works for you. You can keep it forever for free.
Limited number of free programs available. Call now. 1-888-535-3847. 1-888-535-3847. That's 1-888-535-3847. 1-888-535-3847.
News Radio 1070 WKOK presents On the Mark. It's a chance to voice your opinion on the events that affect life in the Susquehanna Valley. Call 1-800-795-9565 or email onthemark@wkok.com. Now, here are your hosts for On the Mark, Mark Lawrence and Joe McGranahan.
Greetings and welcome back to the WKOK Live Telephone Talk Show On the Mark. We'll read our sponsors in a moment. We want to remind folks northbound routes 11 and 15 is very, very slow between Port Trevorton and Selinsgrove because of an injury accident that happened about 8 o'clock this morning. We'll keep you posted about that. We did send out Text Connect messages to folks and tweeted it and posted it on Facebook and sent out email alerts. If you're not clear on what each of those is, as Joe is going to have to bone up on this, we'll send them to WKOK.com. On the the right-hand side. It says how we interact with you. Click there and you're good to go.
All right, that sounds like something I should do this afternoon.
A state budget has been passed by the House and Senate and sent to the governor. The governor has not yet signed it, and the man who has expertise on what was passed in the House is on the line with us now. State Representative Fred Keller, 85th District. Thanks for checking in, sir. I really appreciate your calling today.
Well, good morning, gentlemen, and good morning to all the listeners. I hope everybody's doing well this morning, and sorry to hear about the accident. I came down through there very early this morning and didn't see that, but I hope nobody's too seriously hurt.
Right, and we'll let folks know when that is open. All right, first the state budget, and we want to, before you go, I know you don't have too much time, we want to grab a quick remark about Conestoga, if you don't mind. But first, the state budget, what's in this and what's not in this particular budget?
Well, what's in it? What's not in it? Well, let's see. There's not a tax increase for the hardworking families of Pennsylvania. What's in it is record investment in K through 12 public education. Also increases for the most at-risk people and people needing the help the most as far as Department of Public Welfare. So I think it's a good plan that we put together, and it prioritizes the public's resources in the areas that we heard were most important to the constituents of the Commonwealth and of my district. And I think we put together a good thing here that we can be, the Pennsylvania moves us in the right direction. We also made the payments to the under the Act 120 under the statutory law. We made the payments to the pensions. We didn't reduce the collars like some had suggested we should do. So we made sure we did all those kind of things.
Did it get any bipartisan support?
I have to look at the vote total. It didn't have all the Republicans on it. So we lost a couple of Republicans, but I don't know if I don't believe any Democrats voted for it.
Does it have the pension hybrid system that was talked about?
Well, see, that's totally separate from the budget. Any kind of pension things that we look at as far as how we address future employees, which is really what we were talking about here in Harrisburg, or what was focused on, is not dependent on this budget.
Okay.
We still have to make the payments for the people that are already in the system. The pension, the things that were being looked at for new employees that haven't even been hired yet. So there's no impact to this budget on anything that would be talked about in pensions.
Is there any impact in the budget with respect to the governor's latest reform ideas for the state stores and for the sale of liquor in Pennsylvania?
Nope.
So basically, you're forecasting
this budget's a product that can stand on its own.
So this is basically the status quo with respect to that and some of the other more controversial things he's proposed. They're either not in the budget or not affected by the budget.
Right. In other words, we don't need any kind of liquor privatization or anything else to make this budget work. We don't need any, we don't need pension. Pension reform is not, again, when you're talking pension reform, we're not talking about anybody already in the system. We're talking about future employees.
Well, you talked about what's in the bill, but revenue shortfalls are still an issue you're dealing with. So what's not in the bill? What do you have to take out?
Well, what we looked at doing, we didn't increase things as much as what the governor had wanted to. There were some things that he wanted to increase a little bit more that we didn't, that we weren't able to do. And I'd have to go down and look at, compare that. Now we did have some we looked at what areas had some fund balances that we could use that didn't impact any of the services, just like any other business or home would do. When your revenues are down in business, or when you didn't, you didn't have any overtime, or your pay's a little bit less, you say, okay, well, we have a little bit of money in savings, and we're going to take it from this account, and we're going to use it and spend it on this priority. So that's, the budget actually has a 1.9% increase over last year's spending.
All right, another topic.
1.8.
I'm sorry.
On the whole budget.
All right, another topic very briefly here, then we'll let you go. The Conestoga Wood Products was involved in the Supreme Court decision. You, of course, only put in a quarter century working out there, so you're quite familiar with the company. Tell us your reaction to the Supreme Court decision.
Okay, well, I first want to start out by saying when you look at what what their appeal was. Okay, and I think it's important to understand that first, and the fact that they didn't object to the entire law, and they didn't object to all the methods of contraception in the law. There were basically 20 items that were listed as contraceptives, and they were opposed to the ones that stopped, what they believe that life begins at conception. So it's the one that stopped the fertilized egg from developing. And so there was like 2 or 3 items out of the list of 20 that they were opposed to. So to say that they were opposed to everything, that's just not an accurate characterization. It's their beliefs and understanding the Hahn family, and they are really, really good people, and Conestoga is a good company. Understanding what their beliefs are, and the fact that it is a privately held company by that family, they didn't want to contribute to anything that infringed on their beliefs, their religious beliefs. And I think that it was a good decision for Conestoga, and I also think it was a good decision for many people. I actually thank Norman. I spoke with Mr. Hahn yesterday, and I thank Norman for the fact that he stood up for what he believes. That's what this country's about. When you have your beliefs, you stand up for what you believe, but also protecting other people's rights too, because he didn't only protect his. It's everybody's rights under our Constitution, our laws that they stood up for, and I'm glad that Norman was successful and. Again, we can debate things on other thing, on the whole thing, but I don't want it being mischaracterized as they didn't support, any of the, they weren't trying to repeal the entire law, and they weren't against all methods of contraception. It's just those couple that they were opposed to.
As a state legislator who has many constituents, many of whom are women, and many of whom are working class, who enjoy these health benefits from companies, did you have to revisit this at all in your own mind before you have full support for the decision? Now that you're not just thinking for yourself, we're not just asking Fred's opinions, we're asking State Representative Fred Keller his opinions.
Well, again, this is really not just Fred Keller's opinion. This is the opinion of the court.
No, your reaction, I guess, just your reaction. Yeah, not your
so
opinion,
when you're looking at the opinion, it's not whether I got it right or not. It's what the highest court in the land said. So as with every decision that comes out of the Supreme Court, it is the law of the land, and that we have to abide by it. So in this case,
I'm curious about one thing, if I can interject. You mentioned there were some 20 items that they listed as birth control, and there were only a few that the people who brought the suit objected to. Why do you suppose the women then? Why aren't the other 18 or so? Why aren't they enough? Why are people on the other side so adamant and calling people names and other things like that, do you think?
Well, the first thing is, I don't know. I haven't heard any name calling.
Well, you didn't hear the earlier part of the show.
Well, again, and Mark, you know this, and I think you know me well enough too, Joe, that I respect everybody's opinion, and I don't call names.
I know you don't.
I think that is really, we as Americans, and this country was built on compromise and respect for all life. And I think that when we call names, we don't show the respect that everybody deserves. And let's have the debate and let's have the discussion. But I think the thing that we need to focus on here is, one, let's respect everyone in the dialogue, and number two, our system was set up. Our forefathers were very wise in the fact of how they established our government. And when the court ruling comes out, whether this time it went the way you wanted or didn't, I think we need to respect that and move on.
Couldn't agree with you more. Couldn't agree with you more, Fred.
Right,
Thanks.
Well, thank you very much. Come and visit us again. You got an open mic here to talk about these important issues.
Well, maybe once we get, I have a labor and industry meeting coming up very shortly here, but maybe once when we get through the budget and stuff, I'll give you a call, Mark, and we'll see what we can do to discuss some more of the issues.
All right. Thank you very much.
Fred.
Very
Thanks,
much
guys.
appreciated.
Bye.
85th District
Here's
State Representative Fred Keller.
I was going to mention this one, but Fred just made a very interesting point. This is the woman you call the third smartest woman, or is she still in that rank?
She is, in fact, the smartest woman in the world.
Okay. I did not hear any Republicans complaining about Pope Alito being an activist judge and legislating from the bench, which he was clearly doing. Corporations are people, my friends, with more rights than women. Now, what do you find offensive about that? Obviously making reference to Mr. Alito's Catholic religion, calling him Pope. So, in other words, you can't. It's all right to insult Catholics, but you can't. I
don't think she's really making reference to his Catholicism as much as she's making
then why
fun of
call
his
him a
arrogance.
Pope? Why call him a Pope? Oh, so all popes are arrogant?
No, just Justice Alito.
All right, but why? What was the reference to Pope doing with the judge?
She could have called him President Alito. Would you be happier if she
could have called him
chosen
Judge
that?
Alito, which is what he is.
Well, I think she wants to
words,
use an adjective to describe the arrogance that goes with legislating from the bench.
Well, the Democrats, there have been left-wing decisions that have come down that are doing exactly the same thing over the years. Well, I don't think she would. I don't think that she's going to be on that side of any issue. No, but I'm just saying, I think Fred's right. The Supreme Court ruled, whether you like it or not. If the vote went the other way this morning, I would be saying, I think they made a mistake. I think they should have, considered the fact that these privately held corporations should not be required to pay for something that runs against their moral philosophy. But that would have been it. I wouldn't have called the judges' names. And actually, I said to you earlier, I thought Justice Ginsburg's dissent was very well reasoned, and I thought she brought up some serious points that are going to come back maybe to haunt the Supreme Court somewhere down the road. Even though I do agree with the decision they made, I can see that the other side had some valid points and that Judge Ginsburg made them.
All right, 1-800-795-9565 will dispense with news headlines. We talked about Pine Knotter Days earlier. We've reiterated that routes 11 and 15 is very slow between Port Trevorton and Selinsgrove. Not listed as blocked, but just listed as very slow. So we'll keep you posted about that. We're going to take a quick break. You're listening to News Radio 1070 WKOK. This is the On the Mark program. Groninger Insurance toll-free line is open. We're talking about the Supreme Court decision that related to Hobby Lobby and Conestoga Wood Products, based in Pennsylvania with a plant in Snyder County. Hundreds of employees there. 1-800-795-9565. Do you think this court decision is right? And if so, why? If not, if it's wrong, tell us why. 1-800-795-9565. Lenape Solar email in basket, populated by messages sent to onthemarket@WKOK.com. Our main sponsor, the Sunbury Motor Company.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, gotta go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
This is Tanya Diddy. If you've been wondering how you can save money and the environment for the future, then all you have to do is look to the sun. Let Lenape Solar enlighten you. Lenape Solar installs residential and commercial solar systems, each custom designed to meet your individual needs. And we're committed to buy American products. Making an investment in a solar system today is much more affordable than it was 2 to 3 years ago. The payback is much quicker. You can trust the experts at Lenape Solar to help enlighten you to a brighter tomorrow, because we're committed to you and to our community. Call us at 286-1496 and start saving today.
For more than 3 years now, Radio PA and PAMatters.com have brought you exclusive monthly conversations with Governor Tom Corbett. It's your chance to have the Governor of Pennsylvania answer your questions and comments on the issues affecting you.
The state has had a very difficult time as a legislature to come up with the resolve to deal with this head on. I said when I ran the first time, I'm going to make the tough decisions, and that's what people want you to make.
Let us answer your question on our next Ask the Governor program. Go to PAMatters.com today and click on the Ask the Governor link at the top of the page.
Important pieces of legislation that play into the budget, not the least of which is the pension issue.
PAMatters.com is also home to exclusive video clips from Ask the Governor, a show honored as Best Public Affairs and Best Talk Show by the Pennsylvania Association of Broadcasters and the PA Associated Press Broadcasters Association.
I'm Governor Tom Corbett. Please join me on Radio PA and PAMatters.com for a discussion on the issues facing our Commonwealth. Submit your questions or comment today.
Ask the Governor on PAMatters.com.
It's Pie Nighter Days time again in Northumberland. So come on, summer. It's time to officially begin. Tomorrow, the Pie Nighter Store and Concessions open in King Street Park from 6 till 10 p.m. And the entertainment from 7 till 10 p.m. is an area favorite, Into the Spin. Pie Nighter Days run through the 4th of July. Sponsored by the Kiwanis Club of Northumberland Point Township. Proceeds benefit community service projects.
Welcome back. WKOK Live Telephone Talk Show. If you have any questions about the U.S. Supreme Court, Joe and I just boned up on the topic, so we're good to go to answer your question. 1-800-795-9565 will be the open phone as our show progresses. Groninger Insurance sponsors the toll-free line. Lenape Solar sponsors the email in-basket on the market at WKOK.com. And Sunbury Motor Company is our umbrella sponsor. With that, we welcome U.S. Senator Pat Toomey to the line. Good morning, Senator Toomey. Thanks for checking in.
Hey, good morning, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I really do appreciate it. Thanks for calling in. Across from me is Joe McGranahan, my co-host today. You know him from all his CSVT irritation that he gave you over the years. So thank you.
Good morning, Joe.
How are you doing, Senator?
Thank you for helping to make that come to fruition to your end. Well, I'm gonna begin with the end in mind, and let's talk about Conestoga real quick and Hobby Lobby. I know you had some thoughts on that. We want to talk about the VA and the EPA and your visit tomorrow. So now we got a lot to pack in. Let's start out with Hobby Lobby.
Well, I'm very pleased with the outcome. The decision was quite narrow and not nearly this sweeping thing that some on the left has suggested. But as you know, it does hold that a closely held company, so basically a family-owned business, can in fact observe their religious beliefs. And so therefore, the mandate of the Obamacare, of the Obama administration, their interpretation or their decision to implement Obamacare with this mandate that employers provide contraceptive coverage that includes abortifacients, that's deeply objectionable to many folks. And for those, again, closely held companies who have this religious belief, the mandate has been struck down as a violation, not of the Constitution, by the way, but very narrow. It's been struck down on the grounds that it violates the Religious Freedom Restoration Act of 1993. So it's the right outcome. It's a very narrow decision, but I'm glad we got it.
All right, let's move on to the EPA. That's what really got this conversation started with your staff trying to get you on the line to talk about the regulations. You and a lot of other leaders in Washington very concerned about what you're calling overreach by the EPA as it relates to carbon dioxide emissions.
Well, there's the carbon dioxide emission, absolutely. There are other issues as well, including the water issues, where the EPA is simply reaching beyond its statutory authority. With carbon dioxide, I think it's very clear that Congress has never intended that the Clean Air Act apply to something that is not a pollutant. I mean, carbon dioxide, there's an issue about global warming. I get that. But that is outside the scope of what the Clean Air Act was intended to deal with. And the EPA is attempting to impose restrictions that are so severe that it's going to shut down most, if not all, of coal-fired power plants in America. You know, 40% of all of Pennsylvania's electricity is generated by coal-fired power plants. And we've had tremendous improvement in the reduction of pollutants that they've emitted. But CO2 is something that there is no technology to, to prevent that release. And so to impose it, to impose it the way the EPA proposes, I think it's very, very problematic for our electricity supply.
All right, so that's your opinion on that. There are lots of folks who are concerned about the environment and climate change, and they say this is the way to affect positive change. As you mentioned, the technology doesn't exist to achieve the goals, so that, you know, this will drive innovation would be one way to look at that. And since we have significant issues with climate change, this is the way to do it. I'm not sure that you disagree with those, but you say that this is not the way to go about it.
But here, whatever you think of the nature of climate change and the causes, here's the reality. Even if we shut down every coal-fired power plant in America tomorrow, which is the EPA doesn't, to their credit, they're not suggesting that. But if we did that, then according to the government's own climate models, 50 years from now, the temperature of the Earth would be a tiny fraction of a degree lower than it otherwise would be. That is completely negligible, completely without any real benefit, and it's a huge cost if we drive up the cost of our electricity dramatically, which is what this administration would do. So this is my concern. I think there's a huge cost and essentially no benefit.
We've already had one local plant have to close, as I'm sure you're aware. They're trying to convert to gas, but now, of course, that's a very expensive proposition, and investors need to be found, and so it's a long way down the road. Do you think we're spending enough money trying to, and certainly coal is one of Pennsylvania's great natural resources, are we doing enough to make it useful and to limit even more the negative impact, if you will, on the environment?
Well, absolutely, and I think if you looked at any graph, any chart that shows the pollutants coming from coal-fired power plants over time, it's a stunning graph because it's a line that just keeps going down. All forms of pollutants have just dropped dramatically. The air is much cleaner than it was years ago. I mean, 40 years ago, we had fewer people, we had a smaller economy, and we had dirtier air because we didn't have the technology, the capability to generate power as cleanly as we do today. We've never generated power as cleanly as we do today, and I'm in favor of making more progress. But I want to do it at a pace that allows us to also have economic growth and prosperity. These overhanded regulations, the heavy-handed regulations, are part of the reason why we have such a feeble recovery going on and still far too many people out of work.
Well, Senator, that's common sense. I don't know how far you'll get with it, but I admire you for having it.
Well, I appreciate it. It's in short supply in Washington.
Let's talk about the VA for a minute. Your staff you and your staff have just been outstanding working with us here in Sunbury in an effort to try and get a veterans clinic in the area. And, now with, I think part of the problem in the past was that the fee service there was based on capitation. Now there's some talk that it might be fee for service. Do you see any movement in this? Is there going to be a way for veterans to get the care they need close to home?
Well, that's really the issue, right? And we could have discussions about whether we have a capitated payment mechanism or a fee-for-service mechanism. But at the end of the day, here's what's important to me. The men and women who put on a uniform and fought for this country, risked everything, in many cases took great personal sacrifice. We have an obligation to make sure that they are first in line for the best quality health care in America, in the world. And we're not achieving that standard today. That's the reality. There's veterans that are waiting too long for the health care that they're entitled to, and there are VA facilities that are not up to par. So I think we need, basically our whole approach right now needs just the two components. One is a component that holds people accountable at the VA who have not been serving veterans the way they're supposed to. You can't even fire a senior manager. You just can't fire the person. The government workers get so many forms of protection and so much process that they can go through that as a practical matter, you cannot hold someone accountable. That's ridiculous. Senior managers at the VA who are mismanaging their responsibilities, they ought to be fired. So that's in the accountability department. The other piece that's even more urgent is to make sure that veterans actually can walk in the door of a healthcare facility that they need. So for that, I think we need to give some level of choice. And we've got to work out the mechanism. We had a bill that passed the Senate. There's a different version that's passed the House. But if a veteran has to either wait longer than an acceptable period of time or has to travel too far, or in my judgment, if the quality of care at a particular veterans facility is not up to par, then those ought to be criteria for a veteran to be able to go somewhere else to a local provider, healthcare provider, and have that paid for by the government. So that's the ultimate insurance that a veteran is going to get the health care they need.
That's a great answer. Switching gears for just 1 minute, because I know we're limited with the amount of time we have with you, but let's talk for a minute about immigration. The president had a bad week this week. He's lost 3 Supreme Court issues, one on unions, one on this issue. We're talking about health care. But immigration, he's now threatening to use his pen and his executive orders to do something about the immigration situation. What do you think he's going to do, and what do you think should be done?
Well, this is very frustrating. I don't know what he's going to do because the president doesn't feel constrained by the laws that are passed by Congress and signed, even some that are signed by him. I mean, it's really unbelievable, and it's a huge challenge for Republicans in the Senate, for instance, because I don't think that it's okay for a president to ignore the law. I think he's supposed to enforce the law. The Constitution's very clear about this. But we have a president who thinks he can unilaterally rewrite the law, which he's done dozens of times with Obamacare to suit his political needs. We have a president who thinks he can selectively enforce the law. They'll just enforce those laws which he likes and not others. And now he stands up and threatens, as he did at the State of the Union, that, if he doesn't like what Congress is doing, he'll just go off on his own. So I have no idea what he's going to do. I don't think it's possible to predict. But what I worry is that he will go beyond what the law permits him. You pointed out, that was the heart of one of the Supreme Court decisions just earlier this week, right? The decision that he does not in fact have the power to decide when the Senate is in session and when it's not, and therefore to circumvent the Constitution's authority to the Senate to provide advice and consent on his nominees. So the overreach of this president has been, one of the hallmarks of his administration, and we need to look for ways to rein it in.
All right, last question. You're going to visit Sunbury tomorrow. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Tomorrow afternoon I'll be in Sunbury, and I'll be hosting a roundtable discussion with a group of local small business owners who all of them happen to be women. So the focus is women who own small businesses, and I'm looking forward to hearing what they have to say. The group is being assembled by State Representative Linda Culver's office, and I appreciate her support in this, together with the Greater Susquehanna Valley Chamber of Commerce. So looking forward to hearing about the challenges and opportunities that women small business owners.
You still there, Senator Toomey?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep, I hear you just fine. And the reason that the phone clicked is I pushed the button because now on the line with you is State Representative Linda Schlegel-Culver. Just by coincidence, you both happen to be. She was waiting on hold to talk about the state budget. So you can say thank you for coordinating this to her directly, and she can.
To her. Well, Representative Culver, if you can hear me, okay, I do want to say thanks, and I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Oh, thank you. We're glad you're coming to the area tomorrow.
I appreciate that. Okay.
Terrific.
Well, with that, we'll say goodbye to U.S. Senator Pat Toomey. Thanks for checking in today. We really appreciate it. Thanks for elaborating on these important topics. We appreciate it, Senator.
Thank you, Senator.
Well, thanks very much for having me, guys. Take care.
You too.
I do appreciate that. Well, not the smoothest segue I ever did, but we do. Thank you for laughing with me. Linda Schlegel-Culver is on the line, State Representative, 108th District. How late were you in Harrisburg last night, or early this morning?
We passed the budget, I think, around a little after 10:30. So we got out of the floor around 10 of 11 last night.
All right, well, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for calling in. Linda Schlegel-Culver voted for the budget that is on the governor's desk. Please tell me what's happening with the governor. AP just calls him studying more. CapitalWire.com says he's refusing and has his arms folded and won't sign it until he gets pension. What's your opinion about this level of impasse?
I mean, I was sent down here to do a job. We met our obligation. We got the budget done on June 30th. I'm not sure what he's studying. He must have his reasons. We're here, I think, at least slated to be here till Thursday at this point, and I'm not sure what's on the agenda yet for today. But, I mean, we have been working on pensions. We did pass liquor, I think, a year ago now, in March. Over to the Senate, so I'm not sure what the Senate is about that, but I know we have an obligation to get a budget, for the Commonwealth, and we're going to see what he does with it.
All right, and other aspects of the budget, even though it is not signed yet, so it doesn't take effect, we're still living under the terms of the old budget. What's in that budget that makes you happy, and what concerns you in that budget, if anything?
Well, I mean, we had a deficit going into the budget, and we're required by law to balance our budget, thank goodness. So, that was some of our concern. And, I can't speak for every House member, but, I can speak for at least the 63,000 I represent. And nowhere did I hear, please increase my taxes. So, we had to do some, transfer of funds into the budget from different areas to balance it. And, from what we were dealing with, and revenues were looking up this week, we put the most amount of money we've ever put into education. It's, up over $10.5 billion for K through 12. Early education is near and dear to my heart, and we've supported pre-K, early ed, and early intervention. For the first time in 6 years, special education got a bump in the money that they've received. And I think it's a little over $1 billion to special education. And if you talk to anybody in that field or anybody with a child, they have needed that for a while. One of the things I'm most excited about is the governor had talked about a new program for college students. And what this program does is the Ready to Succeed Scholarship Program. We weren't able to fund it at what the governor had proposed, but we were able to fund it, I believe, at $5 million. And it's a start. And it's for those students, you have to be, a good achiever at college. For those who don't qualify for other funding sources, it's a way to help the middle class, get their students through college, into college, and, help them pay for college. If you look at some other things, we are meeting our pension obligation with school districts. It's $1.3 billion just to PSERS. We have not collared it. We're meeting the obligation this year. With that said, we still need to do something with pensions. We may or may not take it up this week yet, but it feels good to meet the obligation and at least get us on the right track.
Linda, the governor's budget had to be predicated upon the fact that your revenues are not what you expected them to be, and that hasn't changed, has it? They're still lower than anticipated?
Yeah, they funny enough, we're looking at the revenues up until midnight of not yesterday, the day before, and the collections are starting to come in a little better. So they're basing it on that, and I'm not sure the formula they use to project it going forward. So, we're hoping that revenues continue to increase, that the job creators continue to create jobs. We did invest more money into DCD so that people could do that.
Well, you didn't have to cut anything out of the budget that you'd like to have seen in because of that shortfall, or the current shortfall?
I think we went into this budget, with a few things in mind. One of them, was being fiscally responsible, balancing the budget and not raising taxes. And we wanted to manage to fund all our core government services. There were some things cut, but we did our best to try and fund, what the taxpayers are telling us is important to them.
When do you think the governor will decide whether or not he's going to sign it, if you had to guess?
I wish I could tell you that. I honestly, I don't know. I was a little surprised he didn't sign it last night. He said 3 on-time budget. I thought he would sign, but I guess he has to reevaluate where we're at. He has the ability to blue line any line item in that budget that he chooses to. So, we're just sort of waiting and seeing, and we're going about business as usual. We still have business to do in the Commonwealth, and we're going to continue to do it.
Maybe he's saving the best for last, his last hurrah before the general election, so he doesn't want a budget on time.
I hope he isn't going to wait till November to sign the budget.
Well, it takes effect in 10 days. So
it takes effect in 10 days.
Let's see. Women business owners, small business owners, you're meeting with them tomorrow. Elaborate on that a little bit. We'll send a representative there as well from the newsroom, but tell us in advance what we'll see.
Well, I don't know that I'm actually going to be there. I think I'll still be here. Okay. We're going to have to do the fiscal code either today or tomorrow. Senator Toomey wanted to come in and meet with some small businesses, and we kind of came to the idea, well, wouldn't it be neat if he met with, women-owned businesses, small businesses, what are their struggles, what are their successes, and, hopefully he can take back what he learned from our area, back to D.C. I'm a little partial, as you all know, and I'm very proud of the district, and I just find, what our small businesses do, male and female owned in our area, do some pretty incredible things that most people aren't even aware of. And, we've been talking, how can we promote these small businesses so people know the jobs they're creating, the really unique opportunities, or the unique businesses that they have in our area.
All right, I see. So we'll be there tomorrow. We'll find out what the text is. Any additional remarks today? Anything you'd like to tell us?
Well, we did fund. Agriculture got an increase. The EP got an increase. The state police, we increased them so we can do four new cadet classes. Which is important for our public safety. So, going into this, I didn't have high hopes of, what we could actually fund or increase, and I'm pretty impressed with what we were able to accomplish.
Are you going to act on radar for municipal police this time?
I didn't see it come over from the Senate yet. They're still here. We're still here.
Come on, Linda,
yeah, we
push.
certainly would like to do that.
Push, make something happen.
We're counting on you, kid.
This is the new
We'll do our best.
This is the new CSVT.
Right.
So, all right.
Thanks, Linda.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you so much for checking in.
Thank you. Have a good day, guys.
I do appreciate that. Linda Schlegel-Culver calling from Harrisburg, and she is resuming business as normal, even though Pennsylvania does not have a signed budget. House and Senate approved it. Governor is holding out for pension reform. He can either veto it, which sends it back automatically to the House and Senate for renegotiation, or he can just do nothing for 10 days. Which
I think
would coincide nicely with the do nothing in the past 3 years.
I think he'll sign it.
All right, and that's what Joe thinks. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Now, when we return, we'll continue talking about Conestoga. We have questions about the state budget, one question about the U.S. Senator that was on the line, and one about the U.S. House member Fred. So we're going to keep sifting through emails when we
Fred's
return.
not a U.S. House member. He's a State House member.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We are talking about some of the issues of the day. We invite you to join us. The Groninger Insurance toll-free line is open, 1-800-795-9565. Lenape Solar sponsors the email in basket. Reached it on the mark at WKOK.com, and our main sponsor is the Sunbury Motor Company.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, gotta go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury, and Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
Here's something to think about. How do you know if your insurance is the right price? Have you ever had your insurance reviewed? Do you remember when it was reviewed? And are you getting all the discounts you deserve? Let Groninger Insurance Agency give you a free, no-obligation second opinion on your auto, home, or business insurance. Give the Groninger Insurance Agency a call today at 570-473-8107. They're proud to represent the Erie Insurance Group. It's true, if you're not insured by Groninger Insurance, you're probably paying too much.
Attention, attention, breaking news. It's the final days of the Jack Williams Tire and Auto Service Center's biggest tire sale of the year. Celebrate unheard of savings on top brand name tires. Buy 3 select Continental or General tires and get the 4th tire free. Plus, get an additional $50 prepaid Visa gift card on select General tires. That's an unprecedented total of $100 plus in savings. Right now, only at Jack Williams Tire and Auto Service Centers. But hurry, it absolutely ends July 8th. Online at jackwilliams.com. Wait until you hear this. Now through July 8th only, it's Jack Williams Tire and Auto Service Center's biggest sales event ever. Purchase 3 select Continental or General tires and get the 4th tire free. Plus, receive additional unheard of savings with a $50 Visa gift card on select General tires. That's 1 free tire plus a $50 Visa gift card. Get name brand top rated tires at unheard of prices now until July 8th. Only at PA's top value tire dealer, Jack Williams Tire. Online at jackwilliams.com.
You want plenty of fire in the sky for your 4th of July, right? So just light it. Just Light It is the area's full-line fireworks store. Sign up for your safety course. You'll get your certificate upon completion. You used to drive to Ohio for all the good stuff. Now it's here on Route 15 just north of Lewisburg. Look for Just Light It near the Silver Moon Complex. Don't let your 4th of July go by without a bang. Just light it.
Here are some sobering statistics from a national insurance company. 82% of teens use cell phones while driving. 48% of girls are likely to speed 10 miles per hour over the limit versus boys 36%. And 76% of teens say they feel unsafe while another teen drives. Let's empower teens to promote smart driving. Tell them to take action if someone's been drinking, is speeding, or using their phone.
This message brought to you by the stations of Sunbury Broadcasting Corporation, including News Radio 1070 WKOK and Sealands Grove Ford, proud supporters of Susquehanna Smart Drive.
It's a landmark day for the Big Ten. Maryland and Rutgers are officially in the conference. We'll talk to a beat writer from each school today. 3 to 5, News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Okay, well, viewership has plummeted. We're down to 4 viewers. We were up to almost 6.5 billion, and now it's back down to 4. So it must have been something I did. But the audio is perfect, the video is clear, the angle has changed, the lighting is better. Kevin has only got more improvements in mind. So the webcam is up and running. Go to WKOK.com. I received no notice otherwise, so we will assume northbound routes 11 and 15 Port Trevorton between Port Trevorton and Sealands Grove is very slow because of an injury accident that happened earlier today. We'll keep you posted about that. The webcam is up and running. Groninger Insurance sponsors the toll-free line. It is 1-800-795-9565. That's 1-800-795-9565. Lenape Solar email in basket open. Simply email on the mark at WKOK.com. More details about them at LenapeSolar.com. And the Sunbury Motor Company is our sponsor, SunburyMotors.com. I'm Mark Lawrence. Joe McGranahan, the co-host. The greatest engineer in the universe is back. He's Engineer 1. We had 1A in last week, but now we're back to 1. The man has won so many awards that he has dedicated an entire star in name of his awards, and he keeps shooting off into space awards toward that planet.
Blah, blah. Let's move on with the program.
Right, we have some emails designed to irritate Joe McGranahan.
Yeah, go ahead, irritate me.
First one, third smartest woman in the world says Governor Corbett is holding Pennsylvania's budget hostage until the Republicans hurt working people. Yes, it's true. Yeah, they're working on pension reform, and that will hurt working people with their hybrid plans.
But, you know, let's face it, something does have to be done about pensions long range. I don't think you do it to people who are on pensions now or people who have paid into the system. But
I don't think that's on the table either.
People coming down the road, something's going to have to be done because pension costs are killing municipalities.
$60 billion among friends, what's the big deal?
Well, it's a big deal. You know, we work in an industry that doesn't have pensions, as you are well aware. So we not often have.
What?
Right.
Kevin, did you know that? There's no pension here?
Really? Yeah, it's called SYM, Save Your Money.
He has a sign on his desk with the number 5,332 on it. That's the number of days until he's 65, and there's no pension.
But, you know,
anyway.
Seriously, but the costs do have to be controlled. You know, in the past, I think it was easy in negotiations with unions and with people who were bargaining to give them that because it was deferred compensation. It wasn't money you had to spend today necessarily. It was money that you really would have to spend down the road. So it was easy to do that. But now those chickens have come home to roost.
Right. Russ and Merle were in favor of those budgets.
Well, I mean, I think that something that's fair has to be done. I agree with Caitlin. You don't want to hurt the current working people. They should not be hurt. I mean, the company's made a deal with them. You've got to honor it. You've got to honor that commitment. But going forward, people who are not working yet, I think something's got to be done about them. And just as we're changing the age of Social Security for the very same reason.
Well, they're talking about hurting working people in the future also, not just existing working people, but future working class people.
Well, yeah, why are we worried about future working class people? Right now we need to worry about the ones that are here, the ones that are dealing. The other ones will have time to adjust to whatever the system is. There was a time when there were no pensions, where people worked for 10 cents an hour and that was it. You know,
you want to go back to that?
No, but I'm saying that if you know that the system has changed and you go to work today knowing that you're going to have to contribute X number of dollars more than anyone else ever did to your plan, that's part of your working conditions now. And you understand that when you go in. What I have an objection to is changing the game after the rules have been set.
Well, nobody's proposing that.
I know.
Okay, you win. Let's move on.
All right.
Let's see. Than sends us a note. Says U.S. Senator Pat Toomey says that since we can easily get away from since we can't easily get away from coal-fired pollution, we should just give up. Do all Republicans believe that we in the United States can't figure out tough problems and feel we shouldn't even try?
Apparently he didn't listen to what the senator said. He talked about if they shut down every coal-fired plant in the country today, after 50 years, the net result would be less than, what, a tenth of a degree?
Yes, you said a fraction of a degree.
Fraction of a degree. So why is that doing what he says?
Well, that's the trouble with solutions, is sometimes you don't get an immediate reward for things that you fix. Like if you fix something in your vehicle, you may you'll be able to drive all your short trips, but eventually be able to drive a long trip. So.
All right, and you're an environmentalist. Is the economic upheaval that would be created by closing down every coal-fired plant in the country tomorrow worth a fraction of a degree 50 years from now?
No, nobody's proposing that. That's just a pie-in-the-sky thing the senator made up.
You think he made it up?
Well, nobody's proposing that. I mean, it's not a real thing.
No, but I mean, you would shut every coal plant down.
No, I said N-O,
No, you personally would do it.
No, N-O-O. No,
you would
wouldn't do that. No, why would I do that? I need electricity in my house. Half our electricity comes from coal.
Okay, so you would not be in favor of shutting down coal-fired plants, but yet you do favor those stringent EPA regulations.
I think, yeah, in 30 years they take effect. You'll be able, or no, 2030, so it's only 15 years. But we will develop the technology to make things compliant by then. Plus, you'll have a different president, different Congress, different EPA, so things can be adjusted as we go along. I think unless you push science and manufacturing in electric generation in this direction, they won't go there on their own. You have to push them. And it's a shame that this has become a Republican and Democratic issue, because it isn't. This is a grandchild issue. You have a grandchild, so you can appreciate this from a new perspective. We cannot leave this planet totally trashed or totally barrenly warm for future generations. That's what the severance tax was about in Harrisburg that we keep talking about. It would fund future generations. Now, they were talking about channeling some toward education now, but the rest would go to make sure that we don't do what we did with logging in Pennsylvania, we don't do what we did with coal in Pennsylvania, we don't do what we did with natural gas. What we're doing right now is creating long-term environmental damage and leaky wells that'll be around to hurt future generations. So I don't think coal plants should be shut down tomorrow. They should be in compliance with the new rules in the next dozen years or so, and we'll have to develop.
But if those new rules only produce a minimal result, and let's face it, those new rules aren't as good environmentally as shutting down every coal-fired plant. If those new rules don't produce even the result that Senator Toomey was talking about, why do them?
Well, I think the temperature is just one aspect of climate change. I think if you think of it as just, well, okay, so the world's a little warmer. Well, today it's like right now it's 85, and soon it's going to be 86. Well, what's one temperature? There's not much difference. Well, there's a big difference to people who are significantly negatively affected by climate change, and these are working class people. These are not people like you. These are people in third world countries. These are people along our coastlines. Significantly
We're the biggest
affected.
polluters of third world countries.
Nothing. No one pollutes more than we do. Sorry.
China?
So
China?
We're the biggest polluter.
China?
In history.
Ever hear of China?
They're big polluters too, but we're the worst. So anyway, we digress. The point is that one degree makes a huge difference. It makes a huge difference to the poles. It makes a huge difference for glaciers. Would you like all the polar bears to be dead?
No, but we'll buy them a nice freezer. So
right, is that it? Okay, we could overcome that. We'll use technology to overcome
They're
this.
not going to be dead. Well, you said, you made that statement earlier, we'll develop the technology. Years ago, we decided we're going to be energy independent in this country, and toward that end, we created a cabinet-level Department of Energy. How has that worked for us? We have spent billions of dollars on another bloated federal bureaucracy that, in my opinion, has done next to nothing to improve our situation on dependence of foreign oil.
The U.S. Department of Energy is probably the single agency in Washington that's doing exactly what it's supposed to.
Oh, Lord. Marktopia lives.
Consume energy and do nothing else. I don't know what the Energy Department's supposed to do. Let's read our letters since they were kind enough to write them. This is also from one of the smartest women in the world. It says, I agree with Mr. Keller. People should accept the decision of the court and move on, just like they did with Roe v. Wade. How much time and money has been spent on the religious right over the past 4 decades trying to subvert the decision of the U.S. Supreme Court? How many doctors have they killed? How many buildings have they bombed? How many women have they denied access to clinics? Just accept the decision and move on. All right, sound advice.
Gross overstatement, actually.
In what way?
Well, it makes it sound wider. You've taken it off the screen,
well,
so I can't comment
on it.
It's
not gone there. Are you happy?
Okay. How many doctors have they killed? Well, who is they?
Anti-abortion, radical anti-abortion,
yeah, you know, that's
or radical pro-abortion people.
So, in other words, we're okay with branding a few people as extremists who've done that. It's not any concerted effort on the part of those who opposed the decision. Not everybody who opposed that decision, Roe versus Wade, has done anything like that. Many people have accepted it and have moved on. They don't like it, but they've moved on. Okay. Not everyone goes out and kills abortion doctors, you know.
All right, and to that end, another person writes us a note, says, Christian scientists do not believe in any medical needs being met by medical science. What happens when they open a business? No health care at all for their employees. Companies have certain responsibilities towards their employees, or had anyway. After the U.S. Supreme Court ruling, I wonder if we lose that protection.
I don't think, I'm not very knowledgeable about that faith, but I don't believe it's against their religion to have other people receive the treatment. It is against they choose not to receive it, but they don't necessarily say others shouldn't.
Okay.
You know, it's not. I don't think it's a moral issue with them as much as it is. You know, I guess I shouldn't even say that because I'm not certain what biblical text they base that on. Are you?
No, I don't follow, but I'm aware that they don't favor medical interventions under some circumstances, but under some are okay. Blood transfusions.
Yeah, some religions don't even approve of blood transfusions.
So, okay, and on the subject of China being the biggest polluter in the world, China is cleaning up pollution as you speak, albeit slowly. There's no argument in other countries are polluting, so we should not worry about it. That's a poor excuse, says Than.
But who is the worst? Right. Who was the worst offender?
We are.
I don't believe
told
that.
You. Well, look it up. All right.
No, you look it up.
Okay, no, Kevin Googled my facts.
No.
Kevin's not Googling anybody's facts.
I'll Google my own facts.
Right,
you Google your own facts,
We're going to have to read the last ones tomorrow. Well, we'll read this one. This is signed by Sands. It says, the U.S. Supreme Court just discriminated against women one more time. I support women's rights to not be subjected
We read this one.
Oh.
Doesn't it sound familiar to you?
No, yeah, only because you and I read it during commercials.
I read it. No, I read it on the air.
Oh.
That's why it doesn't sound familiar to you. I read it.
All right, Kevin.
The tape. Well, look it up, Kevin. Will you?
No one's looking
Again.
up anything. The phone is ringing. Answer the phone. All right.
I'm sorry. There's no more time for calls, unfortunately.
Well, answer the phone and tell them that politely. Jeez, this is like remedial OTM.
Well, aren't we glad to have Kevin back?
Kevin's here every day. It is you who are
you want me to go away?
Irritating, yes.
I'm sorry.
No problem. The webcam is up and running. It also serves
no problem.
as well, it's 2 minutes. He's going to go out the door, so this is
I'm not going to be here all day to irritate you the way Kevin is, am I?
No. Kevin,
you only have to put up with me for 90 minutes twice a week.
Kevin is part of the solution around here. You're here and 3 hours.
Right.
Every week, not 90 minutes.
90 minutes twice
a
week.
Seems
I said
like
90 minutes twice a week.
Okay.
Sort of like the cleaning person. I come in twice a week.
North, and you don't do as good a job as we had hoped.
I knew there was something else coming.
Thank you, my friend.
Groningerinsurance.com. LenapeSolar.com, SunburyMotors.com, the main websites of our favorite sponsors. We thank you for patronizing those. Don't forget Slow on routes 11 and 15 northbound right now. Thank you, Kevin Herr, very much. He needs an entire another universe to send all of his awards into outer space. He's going to use deep wells in Ohio shortly, I think. Thank you for coming in, Mayor.
He's going to have coal-fired awards rooms.
This is News Radio 1070 WKOK Sunbury.